views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of Bronxnet or the program underwriters.
Hello and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I am your host, Gary Axelbank. I'm filling in for Darren Jaime this morning. Today we'll update you on what's happening around our borough, and we have a lot on the show today. Coming up, we will update you on the latest in politics. Plus, it is never too late to improve your language skill. Lehman College's second language program is designed for students from beginner to advanced, and we'll have more on that later on. Plus, the Bronx bloggers are here to update us on the latest news in the bloggers world. We'll get to speak to two Bronx bloggers. And then nearly 1 in 5 Americans experience mental illness each year. The National Alliance on Mental Illness of New York City is raising awareness on mental illness by providing support, and we will have more on that later on in the show. All this, much more headed your way because we are now, with the big O, officially open. Hello, welcome to Open. I'm your host, Gary Axelbank. Today is Wednesday, April 25th, 2018, and Open, of course, is a live program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV. We want to encourage you to stay connected to us. You can find us on Twitter at Bronxnet TV and Facebook at Open Bronxnet Television. Well, a lot has been going on over the past week, and we will tell you more in just a moment. Medical Center is reporting a remarkable increase in carbon monoxide poisoning cases related to hookah smoking. The number of cases of CO, carbon monoxide poisoning, related to hookah in the Jacoby Emergency Department jumped from 5 cases, representing 6% of all emergency CO cases in 2016, to 14 cases, representing 20 of all CO cases in 2017. It is a bit unclear if the carbon monoxide is coming from the hookah material, the nicotine in the hookah, or the charcoal material that is used to heat the hookah. Smoking hookah for a long period of time is like smoking 100 cigarettes at once. The New York City Department of Design and Construction, that's DDC, set a schedule to repair and replace damaged NYC Department of Environmental Protection manhole hardware. The project started on Tuesday, the 17th of April. These affected neighborhoods include, now here's a long list, Norwood, Fordham, Belmont, Foxhurst, Hunts Point, Concourse, Claremont, Port Morris, Highbridge, Mott Haven, Tremont, Soundview, Castle Hill, and Classen Point as well. Expect this project to be completed by next week, Monday, April 30th, of course, depending on the weather, which is not so nice today. Workers are examining each manhole for cracks and wear and tear, and they're also reinstalling some that are uneven with the roadway. Workers are examining each manhole for cracks, and they will be, as I said, reinstalling some of those. There are no set schedules. They will likely be starting in the southern parts of the areas that I mentioned and will work toward the north as they go along. The Bronx's first ferry service is 70% done, and the starting of it is right on schedule. Community residents and public officials got a sneak peek at the ferry terminal at Classen Point Park on Monday the 9th. The New York City Economic Development Corporation now says it will be operational by this summer. The new ferry line will link Soundview and Manhattan, including stops at East 90th, East 34th, and Wall Street in Manhattan. The fare for the ferry will be the same fare as riding a subway or a bus. We will take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more on Open. Stay right there.
The reading.
Okay, what do I do?
Searching for help with Dachshund reading.
No.
Let me try. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out words.
Playing world music.
What?
I give up.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
I guess sometimes things just happen. Devastating things. Your whole world changes in an instant. That's what happened to me the day my mother had a stroke.
I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911.
Protect the ones you love.
Spot a stroke fast.
And the news never stops. To tell us about the latest in politics in the city and across the world is political analyst Lee Bynes. Nice to have you back with us.
Good to be back. Good to be back with you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure.
Okay.
So much going on. We were just talking beforehand that there's never a day without a controversy or a question. Let's start with the White House and let's talk about the president's visit with the president of France yesterday, Emmanuel Macron. They seem to get along. You always kind of wonder what's in the background, but at least the outward appearance was that they did well yesterday.
Well, one can only speculate because, let's face it, I think most of the world leaders at this point have already grasped the way that they should handle Donald Trump, and the best way to do that is to be very, very complimentary and keep any criticisms down to an absolute minimum. Macron came here with a mission, a mandate, if you will, to get Donald Trump to stay with the Iranian nuclear deal. The president has made no qualms about the fact that he would like to get out of the deal by any means necessary if he has to. On the 12th of May, he's scheduled to recertify whether or not the Iranians have been in compliance. If you take a look at what's going on at the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, they've been able to go in, make their inspections, determine that the Iranians have been in compliance, but that doesn't seem to be enough because the president has his own agenda. I can only speculate, so I won't go into that. But the United States doesn't necessarily have the leisure to pull out of the deal because, as you know, this was a deal constructed by the P5+1, the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, plus Germany. So with Macron...
And once you sign it, it's like any contract. You can't just say, well, I didn't really mean that.
Yeah, but you know what? Based upon Donald Trump's previous behaviors in his business practices, a deal is never a deal until he gets things the way he wants it to be, no matter whether you signed on the dotted line or not. But this is going to be a challenge to him because as of this morning, as a matter of fact, a story came across the Newswire. Newsweek indicated that that the Chinese and the Russians are getting together, forming an alliance, a military alliance, as a matter of fact, And they, in that same article, they indicated that they would do everything that they can to make sure that this deal remains in effect. Now, Macron came here with a little ammunition of his own, indicating that what he would do is to tweak the deal a little bit by adding some other incentives in there that may get Donald Trump on board. However, I'm not sure whether or not Macron has the authority to do that, because he has to work in concert with all the other people who signed on to the deal.
Is there any indication what it is about the deal with Iran that the president doesn't like, other than his predecessor, Obama, is the one who represented the United States and crafted it, and it seems that everything that Obama does, President Trump would like to do away with?
That's an excellent way to frame that question, because he hasn't actually been specific as to what he dislikes about the deal, other than the fact that, as you mentioned, because Barack Obama signed that deal, it's a bad deal. It's sort of like him getting out of the Paris Climate Accord, as him walking away from the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. It seems as though if Obama had anything to do with the deal, he felt it was a bad deal.
If the Russians and Chinese are getting together on, as you said, militarily and forming some sort of alliance, this has got to affect the upcoming dialogue with North Korea.
Absolutely.
And I would wonder how that might affect, the future.
Well, you know what? Whether or not it's a combination with the Russians and the Chinese on North Korea, I can't specifically say that could be a major event. However, I can say that the North Koreans are watching this situation with the Iranian deal very, very carefully. They have every reason to believe that Donald Trump, any agreement that they would enter with him, is not one that would be, sort of like written in water, and you know how stable that is. So one would have to say that that the president, based upon how the North Koreans have been presenting their case. Now, the president has been saying that, oh my goodness, they're talking about no longer testing missiles, no longer doing nuclear testing. But the North Koreans, if you go back and really, really think this through, the North Koreans said that the only reason why the only time that they would come to the table is when they had reached the goals that they intended to reach. They're there now. And no way, no how have I seen in any way, shape, or form where they would be willing to denuclearize. And now there seems to be a discussion or disagreement of what denuclearization means. Denuclearization, in my book, means dismantling your nuclear program altogether. And that is just simply not going to happen.
The president also said something yesterday in passing and talking about North Korea that, frankly, for those of us in the free world, was shocking. He actually called Kim Jong-un honorable. He said he's behaving honorably. For somebody who has, incarcerated his own people and has had probably the worst record on human rights and human violations in history, and certainly his father, the history of that country, it would seem a striking statement by an American president. And I have to add that the Trump and all of the Republicans, and you heard it on Fox News, that when Barack Obama said he was going to meet with the North Koreans, they expressed outrage that how could an American president do this? And yet there seems to be a direct flip-flop on the part of the president.
Well, when the president made that statement yesterday, he did leave a lot of jaws dropping because, but I wouldn't necessarily be surprised, because whenever the president finds himself speaking extemporaneously, if he goes off script, he's pretty much liable to say anything. So he could be praising a person today and demonizing them tomorrow, and there seems to be nothing in between that makes a lot of sense to hold these two concepts together.
So I'm going to make a note here. Wait and see. That's what.
That's about what you have to do.
What we ought to do.
Absolutely.
A federal judge in Washington D.C. Came out and supported DACA and said that the government could not simply end the program, and also heavily criticized the government for not presenting much of a case as to why it should be dismantled. What are your thoughts on the future of DACA and the implications of this ruling? Well, by the way, it's the third federal judge to come out against the Trump administration?
Well, you know what? I think it's a lot of the folks that are protected right now could have a little bit of hope that they can hold on to with regards to this program. On the other hand, though, we have to get the devil is always in the details, because I got through the copy on that, and the way that decision was written up is that they are giving the president 90 days to come up with a stronger argument to make their case for why DACA should be dismantled. If they can't come up with anything better, then it's something that's going to stay for the mid to long range term. Now, this item that's been put forward by this federal judge indicates that as of right now, the Homeland Security will have to back off a bit. They have to start accepting new applications, because there's a lot of people still out there in the shadows right now. Rightfully so, because with this president, you can't trust anything that he says or does, because he could flip on a dime.
And you could find yourself in another country before you open your eyes.
Precisely. So, yeah, I think a lifeline has been thrown out to the people who are waiting. But again, I've always been of the impression that even if DACA is saved, it really doesn't hold families together, because if the young folks are able to stay, but their parents who brought them in are still subject to arrest, detainment, and deportation, those families will be broken up.
We have about a minute, and I'm just going to ask you a question that probably needs another full segment. More than 40 Republican congressmen said that they would not run for re-election. Many, I think, are frustrated with trying to keep their own values in sync with what the president is saying. Do you think that the president, as the head of his party, will be able to keep unity in the party through the year and, of course, into the midterm election?
I would say doubtful. And one of the reasons that I would put myself on that is because elections, campaigns run on money. And right now, it looks like it's a blue wave coming. And the Republicans are going to start running very short on dough, because donors are thinking that, well, if this blue wave is coming, it makes no sense to invest. Just let things ride itself out.
The good news is Lee Bynes will be back with us next week with more.
Okay.
And it's always a pleasure to have you with us on.
It's my pleasure as well.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us. Folks, we will take a break, and you will take a break with us, and we'll be right back with more again.
And I can't change, even if I try, even if I wanted to. My love, she keeps me warm. 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 She keeps me warm.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Love is kind. Love is patient.
For all the papas out there, let's stop what we're doing and take a moment. A moment to be with our kids. They can be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments, kooky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count, because every time dads take a moment to be with their kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's all take a moment to make a moment today.
Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant.
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Okay, back with you on Open. Thank you for staying with us. Learning English can be a difficult task. but Lehman College's intensive learning program helps international students to learn and improve their language skills. To tell us more is Brian Fox, coordinator of the ESL program of Continuing and Professional Studies. It's nice to have you with us,
Yes,
Mr.
thank you.
Fox. ESL has grown up through the years in public schools and, of course, into college. Is there a difference between the way it's handled now, or is it pretty much philosophically the same thing that it's been literally for generations?
Well, like any discipline, we've learned a lot about language acquisition over time. If you studied a language a generation ago, it was a lot of listen and repeat. It was a lot of translation. It wasn't a lot of interaction. And I think sometimes we have students even here who perhaps learned English in their own countries in that way, in a way that wasn't interactive, wasn't enjoyable. And so they're scared to come back into the classroom. But really nowadays, a good English classroom, a good language classroom is interactive. The focus is on the students producing and working with each other. And the focus is on teaching real language, things that the students need. Of course, that involves grammar. It involves all facets of learning a language. But really, the classes are actually fun. And that's something I think that people maybe don't realize if they haven't studied languages in a while, or if they study languages in another country where that interaction is not yet as prevalent.
Mm-hmm. The old style was, and I'm going to make an assumption that it still is, that you don't, like if somebody comes in and they speak Spanish, you don't spend time speaking Spanish. It's all really English. Give me an example of how a class goes.
Sure. I mean, the idea, because we have multinational classes, so the thing is to speak the student's first language, even if the instructor can, wouldn't really help because it wouldn't be fair to the students who don't speak that language. So, in reality, the way that we're working now is working around a theme, something like, how do you make a reservation? How do you use the subway system? Because we have people who are living in New York. How do you rent an apartment? So it's things that we ask, how do you do something, and what's the language that you need to do that thing? So the idea is to demonstrate how it works, and then to get the students to do it. And so really, if you run a language classroom in the right way, you don't need to use the student's first language. We do have a predominantly first language Spanish-speaking student population here, but as I said, it's not all the students by any means. And so, at times, I and some of the other instructors do speak Spanish, and at times, a word or two in Spanish is useful. But in general, the classes are in English, and even from a beginner level, you can manage learning a language without the instruction being in your first language, and that's something I think people don't realize.
What are the considerations for somebody who comes in with, let's say, minimal English? And it doesn't matter to me whether they speak Russian or they speak Spanish. And how long is the expectation for them to be able to get to a point where they can be useful in language? And as I said, what are the factors that go into determining that?
That's a difficult question to answer. The
That's
thing is,
my job
I know,
and
and it's my job to know the answer. But the thing is, language acquisition is tricky. As I'm sure you realize, and as many people realize, if you start learning when you're young, it's much easier. Our students here are adults. Some of them are monolingual, so they don't have a background in learning other languages. In a semester, it's remarkable the progress you can make. But what we do have here, and what we notice, is that a lot of students, because of the lives that they live in New York, are not speaking English enough outside of the class. One of the great things about New York is that you can live a perfectly normal and full existence without English. Whether you speak Spanish or Russian or Mandarin, you can find your community. But the thing is, it's quite limiting. So the intensive programs are 4.5 hours a day, 4 days a week. And that's about the maximum in class that can be beneficial. But then it's up to the student to take what they learn in class and use it outside and study outside. So the thing is, in one semester, one student can show an immense amount of progress and another student not as much. But there's a lot of things that go into that happen outside the classroom as well. And what we have, unfortunately, is many people sort of staying in their first language bubble. And that's a difficult thing because you get comfortable with it. I've lived out of the country for almost 20 years working as a teacher. And I've lived in countries where I did speak the language and where I didn't. And I realized that you fall into a routine. If you speak the language, you do, and if you don't, you don't. And you do the things that you can, and you ignore or adapt to the things that you can't. And so what we really try to promote is to not let that barrier get too high, get too strong, because you can learn the language. We have students who have just arrived a month ago. We have students who've been here decades and just realize now that for professional and personal reasons, they really do need to improve their English. So one of the main things is just not to be afraid and to realize that in New York, again, I think it's one of the amazing things about New York, most of the people are
People
speaking
will accept
English.
you.
And the thing is, if you speak with an accent here, no one's going to laugh at you. If you go to another, if you go to a small town, another state in the country, you might get a look for speaking English incorrectly, or with making mistakes. That's not the case here. Yeah.
I'm going to throw out one factor which occurred to me while you were talking, and you alluded to it. If you live in a household and you don't speak Spanish, but you've come to this country and maybe some of the other, you don't speak English, some of the other people in your household speak English, that has got to help you do better.
Sure.
And then also reflects what you said about the importance of getting outside your bubble. Many people, for wonderful reasons, live in a community with people, who are from where they're from, but it doesn't help them learn the language if they're still working on the old language.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is like pushing yourself. An analogy that I often use, it's like going to the gym. You don't necessarily in the morning wake up and want to go to the gym, but once you get there...
How did you know? How did you know?
The gyms that I've joined and not gone to can attest that I feel the same. The thing is, you'd sign up with good faith thinking, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this X days a week, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to... And then, no, it's raining today. It's cold today. Oh, my back hurts. And so the same thing happens with languages. And the thing is, it really is a matter of pushing yourself. And there's motivation that students bring to the class, and there's also the motivation that we foster in the class. And we have a pretty dynamic team of teachers. We're a small program right now, and we really want to be bigger because the need is there. But we have instructors who are trained in this methodology of making the classes fun and interactive. So in the classroom, it's our responsibility to generate that motivation. Outside the classroom, though, it is really up to the student and hopefully the student's family and friends.
There must be incredible amounts of joy because as a teacher, you always want to see your students progress. There is a very obvious and measurable development and way to track. And you must have tremendous satisfaction when you see a student who comes in and barely knows the language and applies themselves, and then you see somebody do something totally different that's going to be useful for them.
Sure. I mean, when I started teaching, I didn't even really think about that, having not experienced it. But now, 2 decades into this, it's an amazing feeling when you have a student who comes into the classroom with modest or maybe even no language, and then after a few months is able to communicate with you inside and outside of class. Some of the best success stories that we've had are students who've come into our program and then moved on to study at 2- and 4-year colleges because they now have the English, which allows them to study in an English language medium classroom. So that's really the goal for a lot of students in our program, some of them have university qualifications in their own country, but want to get similar qualifications here. But when they arrive, they don't have the language, and we get students to that level. And I think that, to me, is one of the most amazing things about the program.
I'm going to give you just an anecdote. I work with a young man outside of Bronxnet who he's a Lehman College student and he does web development. He never wants, I introduced him to a Spanish-speaking gentleman. He says, I never want to talk it because he's always working on his English. And of course, he now understands well. You wanted to say something in Spanish before you left, and we're going to let you do that.
Okay, bueno, para nuestros vecinos latinos, que no tengan miedo de ponerse en contacto con nosotros, con el programa. La cosa es que la gran mayoría de los que trabajan en el programa son bilingües. Así que si llama a la oficina, le puede atender muy bien en los 2 idiomas. Y por eso la cosa es que hay muchos latinos aquí que pasan, bueno, como acabo de decir en inglés, que pasan muchos años aquí y no se esfuerzan en aprender el idioma. Pero es un impedimento muy grande y no tiene que ser así.
Brian Fox from the Lehman College ESL program, thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you for the great work you do with young people in the Bronx.
Thanks. All right.
Folks, we'll take a break and we'll be back with more right after this.
17, but I know about investing. Believe in something, buy shares in it, watch it grow. So, what if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. I could be one of the first college graduates from my family, the first philanthropist from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there's a second and a third. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans.
Cheru has no choice. She and millions like her walk miles a day for dirty water. But together, we can end their walk by providing clean water close by. Instead of spending hours walking to get water that makes them sick, girls can be in a classroom, and moms will gain back time to care for their families. Sons and daughters can grow up strong, finally free of sicknesses. It's true. When you just add water, you change a life. Learn more at worldvision.org.
Welcome back to Open. 43.8 million Americans suffer from mental illness. The National Alliance on Mental Illness of New York City is raising awareness on mental illness by providing support and activities. We're going to find out more about that. To tell us all about it is Tanya Robinson, who's a volunteer.
Yes.
Nice to have you with us. And Matt Kudish, who is the executive director. Nice to have you with us, sir.
Thank you.
Let's start with you, Mr. Kudish. There's so much dialogue, frankly, for the wrong reasons about mental illness, because we have people with mental illness committing crimes, using guns, and that's how the dialogue has become nationally. But talk to me on the grassroots level. Where are we at in mental illness? How are we doing with getting to the people who need care, et cetera, and then we'll break it down from there.
Yeah, so to your first point, I think it's important that we not only think about mental illness and violence together. And
that's why I brought it up, because that is the national conversation.
Right, and it's a mistake. It's a mistake to assume that just because someone commits a violent act that they're suffering from a mental health condition. The data actually supports that a lot of people who are perpetrators of these violent acts don't have diagnosable mental health conditions. So it's important that we start to kind of take the dialogue back and talk about these issues when these opportunities present themselves, certainly. And I think we also want to make sure we're taking every opportunity to normalize talking about mental illness outside the context of those horrible acts taking place.
So now let's get back to the real meat of my question. How are we doing? How are you guys doing in terms of making sure that people who deserve help, I'll use that word deliberately, who deserve help, get the help and support that they do deserve?
Yeah, I think we're doing a lot and moving in the right direction. I think stigma is really the biggest barrier to people feeling comfortable reaching out. The more we can do to talk about mental illness, normalize discussions so that if someone is experiencing a challenge, they feel safe and comfortable talking to someone who can help connect them to resources. I can tell you at NAMI, New York City, we have served over 16,000 New Yorkers last year.
I'm going to applaud. I think that's wonderful. I think we're going to keep trying to increase that every single day.
Absolutely.
I think it's great.
Yeah. So we do a lot of public awareness events to normalize discussions, raise issues of mental health and mental illness in every community across the city, so that people are, again, willing to talk about it and know who to reach out to in the event they're struggling or someone they care about is struggling.
Do you think one of the biggest issues is that either caregivers or families are maybe not even able to define what the issue is with a relative or a friend or somebody? So this person has problems. They say, well, he's a little weird or he's a little different, and they never know how to say, gee, maybe this is something that's treatable, or this is a person that needs care. Is it, and I guess that goes to the awareness question.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of misinformation about mental health conditions, what they are, what they aren't. I think we base our assumptions on what we see on TV or what we read or what we hear, so we think we have an understanding of what the issue is. But if you haven't really lived it and been through it, it's very difficult to truly understand. And I think what makes it more complicated is that getting an accurate diagnosis can also be really difficult and a long, arduous, complicated process.
Tanya, thank you so much for joining us today, and I know you're passionate about it. And I said it very casually at the beginning that you're a volunteer, but that means that you feel there's something really important to work on here. Talk to me about your passion and your why you participate and why you really care about this.
Well, I work on the helpline. The helpline is a resource for people to call in and also to email and about mental health issues, usually, that we get calls about. And I love doing that because a lot of times you find that there's a lot of people out there who may just have been diagnosed or have a child that's going through symptoms and they don't know what to do.
This is just what I was just talking about a moment
right.
ago. Yeah.
Yes.
And what are the common kinds of calls that you get? Give me an example, like, hello, here are, NAMI NYC. What is it that they're saying in general?
Well, let's say a lot of times they're saying, "Oh, my son's just been hospitalized, and he's out now," and they're saying he has this diagnosis, or they haven't diagnosed him yet, and we want to get more help. And one thing we have is that we have support groups at NAMI. We have support groups for people who are living with a mental illness. We usually refer to as peers, and we also have support groups for their caregivers, their family members and loved ones that they can come to.
Do you think that you're actually able to really provide substantive help and support that help people, guide them, and help them change their lives? In other words, is there a nice resolve to it?
Yes, there is. There is. I think there is a lot of times. A lot of times people end up coming to our support groups, and we also have classes as well. We have a class called Peer-to-Peer for people living with mental illness. This is that basically gives you a mental health awareness that you may not have had. And there's a similar program for family members called Family to Family.
I'm going to ask Mr. Kudish the exact same question because I could see that you had something you wanted to say. Yeah. But before we throw you the heck out of here, we're going to make sure to talk about the walk that's on Tanya's shirt, which is coming up, and we want everybody to participate. But so you addressed the same question about the possibility of really changing somebody's life.
Yeah. So I think first of all, I would say that recovery is real. Recovery from mental illness is a real thing that people who are accessing appropriate treatment and care and support can find. They can find and live a long, healthy, full, rich life in recovery. And the way that I think NAMI really helps in ways that some other nonprofit organizations that do similar kinds of things where we stand out is that everything we do is peer-based. So if you're talking to people on the helpline or you're taking our classes or in a group, you're dealing with people who have walked in your shoes. These aren't do-gooders who just want to volunteer. These are people who have gone through these classes. They've been through these experiences.
And understand it firsthand.
Absolutely.
Before we run out of time, drum roll please, it's Tanya's chance to talk about NAMI Walks for Mental Health. Tell me about the walk and when is it happening, and let's get everybody out there to participate.
Okay, well, the walk brings together, I believe, about 5,000, is that right? People.
I'm counting. Okay, that's good.
And it's a major fundraiser for the NAMI New York City Metro chapter to be able to fund all the services that are offered.
Give me the whens and wheres.
Okay, so it's going to be May 12th.
Okay.
And it's going to be at South Street.
That is a Saturday?
Yes, it's the Saturday before Mother's Day. It's always the Saturday before Mother's Day, I tell people. And, I'm sorry, what was the other question?
And where is it taking place?
Oh, South Street Seaport Promenade.
There you go. And how do you register?
You can go to www.naminyc.org.
Is that it? That's great. Okay. That's great. You'll find everything you need there.
Everything, naminyc.org. You guys are great because we've got to support people, and people, as I started out saying, they deserve the support, And the walk is going to be great. I know you said 5,000. We're going for 8,000 this year.
All right.
All
Okay.
right.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us, and
Thank
you
you.
for the great work that you do at NAMI NYC.
Thanks.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a break. We do have to do that, but we'll be back with more right after this. Thank you for tuning in to Open this morning. Major movers and shakers in the Bronx are releasing their creative minds this month. I don't even know what that means. To tell us more about upcoming events is my longtime friend, Deyla Sabio, from blogger from the Bronx, and Tamera South, a blogger from Simply T. Nicole. I don't know what that means either. Deyla, nice to see you again, and Tamera, nice to meet you.
Yes.
You really have put together or beginning to put together kind of an organization of Bronx bloggers. Just tell me about some of the work you did. And you know, I attended the social you had at the Bronx Museum.
Yes.
Talk to me about what's happening in the Bronx.
Well, right now there's a lot of things happening in the Bronx. Born Jews, Henry Obispo, he has partnered up with the Farmingdale State College. So they are printing and forming his new shop, his Jew shop that he's opening up here in the Bronx. So they are creating a blueprint of what the shop will look like. Noelle Santos, who was the founder of Lit Bar, she was featured in the Essence magazine this past week. We have Sadicia. She is the founder of the Bronx's Reading, and she actually fundraised more than $35,000 to bring the first book festival in the Bronx. So that's happening in May, and I'm super, super excited because there's a lot of things happening in the Bronx.
You know, I want to just list, so you talk about a new juice bar in a
juice bar.
collaboration with the college.
Yes.
You talk about reading, you're talking about health. We're talking about all the good things that go on in the world, and we're bringing them through blogging to the Bronx.
Yes.
So Nicole, tell me about, Tamara,
Tamara, yes.
tell me about Simply T. Nicole, and who's Nicole?
Yes, Nicole is actually my middle name.
Oh,
so I just wanted to be a little jazzy with it. Yes. I am a Christian lifestyle Bronx blogger, and I go around, and I'm great that I've collaborated along with with Miss
Sabio.
Sabio here.
You can call her Deyla. It's fine.
Yes. And I feel privileged and honored that I'm collaborating with her,
Mhm.
and I'm collaborating with other people in the Bronx. And right now I'm into fitness, so I found a new fitness spot. It's called Ice Cycle on Hunts Point. And they do spinning classes as well as meditation and yoga. So I am just doing that and finding
Bubbling
other people.
with the excitement.
Yes.
Talk to me about this medium. The fact that, we 10 years ago, we didn't have bloggers, and now, in many ways, and we've already established that it's shaping some of the most important agendas in the Bronx. Talk to me about the growth of this medium and why you like it, why this has been good for you and what you're trying to do.
I don't just like it, I love it. It's needed.
I'm so sorry, I underestimated.
Yes, it's needed. There are so many wonderful people that are in the Bronx that are doing wonderful things. And the Bronx is people really don't look at the Bronx as a place of collaborations.
For what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They just know Yankee Stadium, right?
Well,
Yes, exactly. Or
Not
the Bronx
to say there's
Zoo.
anything wrong with those things.
Right. So it's time for our voices to be heard.
Right. And this gives you an opportunity to do that. And I'm going to ask you the same thing about the community of bloggers. It was an amazing showing at that event that I attended at the Bronx Museum maybe a month ago or 2 months ago, whatever it was. Talk to me about the community and why it is strong and maybe even getting stronger.
Well, the Bronx is amazing. The Bronx is
preaching to the choir when you come to Bronxnet.
it's filled with creative juices and people that are ready to, take their professional work and put it somewhere. Right after the Blogger Social, a couple weeks later, London had their Blogger Social. They saw the hashtag, they saw the movement.
They modeled it after you?
And they
after
modeled
us, after
it
you?
exactly. I mean, even the
Wow.
flyer and the logo looks like I had it.
Wow.
And I was like, we're overseas. We're international.
Yeah.
So the Blogger Social went to London. I wasn't there. I didn't get credit, but it's okay because I'm still happy. So it's shaping so many things in the Bronx, and I've seen so many success. A lot of people are coming outside of their comfort zones, and they're collaborating and creating new projects. I see a lot of events coming up out of this. I mean, we have new shops coming in. Trill Cooker. You heard of Trill Cooker?
What is that, Trill?
Trill Cooker.
Trill?
Yes.
Okay. The answer clearly is no.
You have to taste his food. I mean, I haven't had his food, but I heard it's really, really
now
awesome.
we'll have a cooking segment here on Open.
Yes, you guys should invite him. And
Okay.
Ocho
I hope
Platos.
everybody's listening, but go ahead.
Ocho Platos. Ocho Platos is another organization that have that they cook and they make food. They're all here from the Bronx, and they're amazing.
I want to ask you the same question that I asked Tamera about. So why is this medium so good? In other words, why is this working? Whereas maybe other things, and nothing against TV, that's obviously what we do here. What advantage does it have over other mediums?
Well, it's a need. So whenever there is a need present, you don't really need advertisement because there's a need and you're covering it, and it's been here for such a long time. We've been here for a long time. Bloggers been here for a very long time. We just needed someone to kind of organize it and put it
all
together.
Yeah.
And I kind of had to do that, and then to
Well, you
kind of
did.
like push the baby out. So that was out.
Tamera, talk to me about how often do you blog? Like, do you write every day? Do you write
Yes.
every day?
I write every day, and I also have like sponsored content on my blog as well. So I have other people come in and they write on my blog as well for guest posting.
About with the same theme for the things that you are pushing and the things that you
That's
advocate.
correct.
Talk to me a little bit about how you come up with that creative energy every day. Do you walk out your door and go, I'll write about this? Or do you write about something you see in the news? Or do you write about a friend? Tell me a little bit about that.
To be honest, it's
Oh,
life.
no, we don't want honesty. Forget the heck
It
with that.
is life experiences. So I can walk outside and my daughter will say something to me and I'll say, oh, blog post, inspiration. So it's definitely, my blog is definitely based on life experiences.
There you go. Did you write yet today?
Not yet, but I will.
Okay, are you going to write about your experience
Yes,
on Open? That's what we want.
exactly.
And do you write at the same time every day? Like
No,
you do it
not
at
at
8
the
o'clock
same
at
time.
night, or It's
Yeah.
just whenever it strikes you.
All day,
And
yes.
about how many words you do? You 750
About
words?
750, yes.
Well, that's pretty standard. Deyla, why don't you wrap it up? Tell us about what's coming up or what the bottom line is and what we want people to know for this morning.
So May 3rd, which is this next Thursday, we have the Bronx Terminal Market is having their spring fitness right in the roof. I will be there. Ice Cycling Fitness will be there. There are going to be different fitness people from the Bronx every week. We're going to have the CrossFit Jungle people. We're going to have the Sweet Dance Water Yoga Studio.
Now, that's going to be on like that parking lot on the roof? Is that what you're doing it?
Yeah, so that's going to be like the fitness time. It's going to be 5 o'clock. What else is going on? The Bronx Fashion Show is coming up May 12th. I'm going to be there also with 7 other bloggers.
How do people find out about all this stuff we got to run?
The flyer, it's going to be on my Instagram page. I will be posting it.
All right. Hey, you guys are great. Deyla Sabio, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you
tell you, I
too.
didn't recognize her because she had her hair all different. but it's
Same
the
face,
it's
same
the
face, same
person.
smile.
There we go. And Tamera, continued great luck and great success with what you're doing. Okay? We have to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more. Don't you go away.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I bought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, welcome back to Open. Through her inspirational story and journey to the United States from her native Brazil. Our next guest is here to tell us the story of her struggle, life lessons, and of course the most important part of it is the success. Welcome to author Luciane Serifovic to Open. She's mostly impressed that I got to pronounce her name right.
I am very impressed with you.
Thank you very much. So tell me about, this is the book, Handle It.
Yes.
And I will say on the back, there's a picture of you as a beauty queen. But let's start with the front of the book and talk to me about Handle It. And here, let me show it to the people there. Tell me what it's all about.
Yeah, so Handle It is a classic immigrant story of someone coming to this country and being completely broke, not knowing how to speak the language.
Oh my goodness.
And being able to succeed in real estate. So the mission of the book is really to inspire other people that, you know, they can conquer it all and they can have it all as well.
How long ago did you come here?
I
I'm
came
presuming it's your story.
It is my story. I've lived it, and I've been able to conquer it. So I want to be able to inspire other people that they can do it as well. So it was about 18 years ago. Believe it or not, it feels like it was yesterday, but it was 18 years ago that I came to this country.
And why did you come to the country? And there's so much controversy over people who enter our borders. Maybe you can give us a little background.
Yeah, interesting enough, I did come here. I tell people as a joke that I came straight off the boat, but I did take a plane to come to this country. But I came here.
Metaphorically, it was just
straight off the boat. And I came here, and I was actually legally an illegal immigrant for several years before I had my documents. But I came here because I wanted to be safe. Brazil is a beautiful country, but it unfortunately is not safe. And my aunt used to live here, and she was a very close friend, and I felt when she came to this country that I had lost everything. So I wanted to come and live the American dream and build something.
Did you come and meet with her and stay with her? Is that
Yes,
how you got started?
yes, I lived in a basement. I had no lights. It was dark 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's basically how I started it.
What are the biggest issues for an immigrant coming to this country that make it very difficult? And then, of course, we'll talk about how we get to the point where it gets easier.
Yes, so it's almost impossible to get your visa. I mean, I actually...
It's not any better now than it was.
Yeah, it's even worse. But I actually, in the book, I tell the story how I actually came. I was supposed to come here when I was 9 years old. And my dad sold everything. My mom came and she was here. And my dad sold everything. He sold our furniture. He sold all of our electronics. And we had all of our bags ready to come to the U.S. So when he went to the immigration or to the embassy to get our visa, he got rejected. So my mom had to go back to Brazil.
My
we had
goodness.
to start life all over
So
again.
really even getting started was one of the biggest issues. And then you got into real estate and you did well.
Well, not really. Before that happened,
I know I skipped over like 8 years.
So my first job was actually in a coffee shop, and I was making cappuccinos at this little tiny Italian coffee shop. The first client that walked in was this very nasty Italian guy, and he said to me, "Can I have an American coffee with 3 sugars?" And I looked at the guy and said, "What is he saying to me?" Because I didn't know how to speak English.
Wow.
And I said, "How many sugars?"
That goes back to the segment we did on the ESL program. I do want to move it ahead because we're going to run out of time.
Okay, sure.
So where are you at? First of all, so the book is out. Where are you at now? What are you working on now? And why should people be thinking about looking at the book and being inspired about achieving in America?
Well, because I think there's still hope. And, my motto is if you work hard, have faith, you can accomplish anything. And essentially what I did was I worked very, very hard in every position I've had, from starting at the cappuccino store all the way up to now. I was the international, most recently I was the international director of sales for a real estate company. And now my mission, well, all the proceeds from the book is actually being donated to a little girl who's been diagnosed with cancer. And she used to play with my daughter.
Doing the right things.
Yes.
So the book is Handle It, available wherever you
It's
can
in Amazon.
buy it. On Amazon, so that's
So
a
if you
good
just
start.
go to Amazon, type in Handle It, you'll be able to find
Real
the book.
quick, and I hate to conclude with a political message, but I'm sure you have good, strong feelings about people who say that undocumented immigrants should not be coming to this country. You're an example of how it works, right?
Yes,
Got about 30 seconds.
I do believe that there's still opportunities, and maybe it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but just keeping the faith, working hard, and doing the right thing, eventually you'll get somewhere.
There you go, Luciane Serifovic. I want to get it right. I always want to be respectful. The book is Handle It, and it's really inspirational.
Thank you very
really the
much.
bottom
Thank
line.
you.
All right, I think, I'm going to drum roll, we've come to the end of the show.
I need more time.
Yeah, we all need more time, and we're doing the best we can. We want to thank all the guests, Luciane and everybody else for joining us, and to you, of course, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recablecast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum 67 on Fios 33, or watch anytime on the web, of course, at Bronxnet.org. And guess what? We're no longer open. I guess we're closed. Have a great day. Have a great night. See you around town.